Hello all you lovely boys and girls out there in photography land. This week I want to show you a little film where we're going to go through taking a couple of images, but I'm going to explain what I'm thinking as I do it. Now, cameras are marvellous pieces of equipment, but on their own they can't do anything. They need your input. Leonardo da Vinci's brushes and pigments could not have created the Mona Lisa without him. Now, I have created a new 7-week downloadable photography course which really goes in depth into this thought process behind every single image that you're going to take. It's called the 7 Building Blocks of Photography. Just search for 7 Building Blocks of Photography, you'll find it. But there's 5 hours of videos, there's worksheets, there's masses of good stuff. This is a big subject and I promise it will revolutionise your photography. But anyway, without further ado, let's go and have a look at me shooting a couple of images, and I'm just going to talk you through what I'm doing and what I'm thinking in order to achieve the image that I want. Which camera setting should I use is a question we hear quite a lot. So I thought I'd take you through a thought process which I use, and I ask myself questions, and by asking those questions, the answers to which settings, they kind of arise naturally. Now, I'm assuming you've watched most of the other videos in the different sections that we've already got on the site. I'll stop talking about it, let's just do it. So suppose I've got this little boat sitting here in the sunshine, which I hope is going to last, and we got other boats going on in the background. It's all really quite nice. So let's say I want to take a picture of that. First question, how do I want it to look? Do I want to include lots of background or just the boat? Do I want to have it sharp front to back, or do I just want to have a shallow depth of field looking at the boat? By asking these questions, it will tell me which lens to use and where to stand. Go and watch the lenses film, particularly the ones about focal length, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. The shot I'm going to take, I want to have a fairly wide angle shot with the boat strong in the foreground and what's going on in the background kind of not quite so important. I want to try and include as much of the sky as I can as possible. So that's going to give me a wide angle lens. By getting fairly close to the boat, that is going to make the boat strong, very much the subject of the picture. Right, so I have my wide angle lens on and I have already set it to its widest focal length. That's 10mm in this case. So the next thing is to have a look and find the composition. It's going to tell me where I'm going to need to set the zoom, but I think I'm going to want it at its shortest, and I'll move myself backwards and forwards to get the composition. Now ideally I'd like to be about 4 feet that way, but I can't, so I just hope I don't fall in, and if I do, you can have a laugh at my expense. And if you want to come around here, Janie, because then you can sort of, otherwise I'm going to have my back to you throughout. So yeah, 10mm was fine, and I'm just lucky that this is probably a good spot, so I'm going to move back a shuffle and just focus on the boat. So what I'm going to do is put the boat in the kind of lower left third of the shot, and then those boats over there on the opposite side of the frame. So I can see quite clearly that's going to work beautifully. Okay, next question, what light am I in? I'm in sunshine, so that's going to give me my white balance setting, isn't it? Put it onto the sunny setting. The next question is, how much depth of field do I want? Well, for this sort of shot, a landscape, I want lots of depth of field. I want it to be very sharp indeed. So that is going to tell me which aperture to use. If I want lots of sharpness, then I want a small aperture. So I'm going to go to f/16. I'm not going to go to the smallest aperture of the lot because the lens will perform better if I don't push it to its extremes. That's going to tell me my depth of field. The next question is, which shutter speed do I need? Because the aperture is going to govern that, and it's also going to have an impact on ISO. So again, looking through the viewfinder, you can't do this just kind of pointing it at the ground and looking in the back. Look through the viewfinder with the shot composed and see what shutter speed I'm getting. I'm getting an 80th of a second at f/16 in this light, and my ISO is on 200, which is the lowest, the best quality, the best colours and everything else, so I don't need to change it. If I needed a faster shutter speed, then I would have to increase my ISO to get that. Why would I need a faster shutter speed? You need to have a fast enough shutter speed to freeze any camera shake. Those are little movements. Go and watch the camera shake film, that will explain it. So there we go. By asking myself those questions, I know what my camera settings are. I've now put them onto the camera. I've got my aperture, my shutter speed, I've got my white balance all set, and I know that I can use my finest ISO. So all I have to do now is lean out over the water, focus on the boat, compose my shot, and take the picture. There it is. So there you go. There's one little set of questions for that particular shot, and those questions, by answering them myself, I've given myself the settings I need for the camera. Let's go and find a different scenario. There's something kind of interesting me over here. If you can see, we've got this pontoon with these little boats tied up to it, and in the middle of it there are some flowers, and I quite like, there's some sort of safety rings. What are they called? Lifesaver rings. Now I quite like the light on those lifesaver rings and the flowers either side. It's a real sort of boaty, sort of a quayside thing. Shame the sun's going in because I like the light on them, but it doesn't matter. I'll keep talking you through the shot and maybe the sun will come out. Okay, that's the shot I'm going to go for. What I'm seeing in my mind is something to do with those rings, with the plants either side, and maybe some boats in the background. Something to say this is a bit boaty, you know, something to bring it together. First thing, think about the composition. How do we want it to look? That's my first question. Well, obviously I've got the soft background, so I want a shallower depth of field. I want to make those boats in the distance probably come this way a little bit so that I can line up my orange life buoys with the boats. To do that, I've got to think about where do I... So it's really simple to line the shot up. You just move yourself around and look with your eyes. Now I'm just sort of moving up and down here, and I think to get, I reckon from about here, I'm going to get the life buoys and a bit of the plants and then some boats in the background. Okay, where have you gone? Oh, you're over there. So she keeps doing that. She moves when I'm not ready for it. So I turn around to talk to you and find you're over there. Right. Now to achieve that shot, that's going to tell me which lens to use. I'm going to need a long lens because obviously I can't climb over there. But even if I could, I want to compress perspective. I want to suck everything together a bit. And I want a very narrow field of view because I want to try and miss things like that deep water life jackets available sign on the pontoon. And also the life buoy, which is hanging on that pole just in front of the third little boat in. I don't want them in there. So I want a narrow field of view. I want to be looking down a drain pipe like this. I don't want a wide field of view. I want a narrow field of view. Again, go and look at our lenses films. The focal length film will tell you all about that. The Focal Length Explained, I think it's called. Anyway, long lens. So I go and get my camera with a long lens on it. Try not to trash everything in the process. I'm going to use my longest focal length. I'm going to set the zoom as long as possible. Now if I have to move further away, then so be it, but the long zoom will keep the field of view narrow. So let's try it. Let's set my zoom long. I'll just have a quick look from standing up. No, I think that's about right. Actually, I'm going to go a bit closer. So I'm going to get as close as I can because I want to make sure I can exclude that deep water life jackets from the shot. Just focus it up and have a look through. Yeah. Let's just shuffle this way a tiny bit. Try and line the shot up nicely. Yeah, that's good. I can just about achieve the shot I'm after. So focus on the... No, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? How much depth of field do I want? I want a very shallow depth of field because I want the rings to be nice and sharp, but I want everything either side of them to be a bit soft. So that's going to tell me which aperture I need, because the wider the aperture, the shallower the depth of field. So I'm going to set my widest aperture. That is the lowest F number. Okay, so now I can have a little look through the viewfinder again with the shot all composed and see what shutter speed I've got. Now with a very wide aperture, obviously tons of light is coming in, so I have a very fast shutter speed. Let's just have a look at my ISO. Again, I'm down on 200 ISO. If it was dark, in a way it would have been good if the sun had gone in, because I'd have been able to show you that, but I'll find a way to in a minute. If it had been dark, I would have had to have made sure that my shutter speed was faster than a 200th of a second. Because my lens is set to 200 millimeters, I'm going to need a 200th of a second to ensure I don't get camera shake, any wobble whilst I'm taking the picture. But as it happens, with my lens set at f4, which isn't quite my widest aperture, but there you go, I'm going to focus on the life buoys. I've got a 1,500th of a second with the shot composed, so that's pretty cool. Let's just, oh, it's windy, squeeze off a shot. And there you go. So that's what I was looking at. And by asking myself those questions, how do I want the picture to look? It's given me the settings I need for my camera to make sure the exposure is correct and that I won't get camera shake, etc. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified each time we upload one of our cool photography videos, or for more great photo tips, workshops and training, come and see us at our website, photographycourses.biz.